Olá, boa tarde. Caríssimos aí atrás. Será que a minha voz não chega ao fim? Vamos então começar? Boa. Então vamos começar vamos fazer em inglês. É melhor, está bem? Está bem, está bem. Hello. Good afternoon and thank you for being here today with us. My name is Anabela Pedroso. I'm an advisor in CEiiA. And for the next hour, sorry, you have to have me with you. I will be your host and your moderator for the session Sustainable Mobility for Carbon Neutral Cities. So, but with no more delays, let me present you our high-level panel. We have all of them seated here, and the format will be a little different because in the first moment we will have 3 presentations and then a debate. It means that I'm always asking to my colleagues, please stay on time. But nevertheless, the presentations will be with Catarina Celada from CEiiA, with our mayor of the municipality of Matosinhos, Luísa Salgueiro, and our mayor of Braga, Ricardo Rio. But let me only introduce you a little about what we are going to do, and after that we will take place with our discussion panel with 2 individualities that I think that will be very important for us. One from OBE, and Luís Barroso, and the other one, the president of IMT, João Caetano. So, imagine that, according to data, and as you have already saw it by the United Nations, 68% of the population, of the worldwide population in 2050 will be living in cities. Do you imagine that we are speaking about 2.2 billion people yearly going to cities, moving to cities? So it can say that, well, 2050 is a little far away, but it's not. As a matter of fact, what we think today that should be the future of our cities is this. Well, clearly, if we have any sort of future, it will be in cities. But the question is, what kind of life we will have there? And so that's why when the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, said, if countries, if governments don't take action, we will see the collapse and burning of our planet. And naturally, none of us want that. And so, as we are now living in this precarious balance between leadership, cooperation, and political will, and this is where the future of the world is now put in balance. And so that's why it's so interesting that today we have here the opportunity to speak about a very innovative program that will aims to help cities to accelerate their journey towards carbon neutrality. And they are doing that using a community and the fly, using a community-centered approach, presenting mobility concepts supported by cutting-edge digital technologies, and especially a shared governance involving 8 cities in the north of Portugal, in the case we have here Matosinhos and Braga, and around 40 companies and entities from the scientific and technological system. So this is the basis of the Be Neutral agenda. And I think that when the aim of this project is to establish the north of Portugal as the first carbon neutral region in Europe and its potential of replication both inside and outside the country, I think that this is a good challenge for us. So, with no more delay, I invite Catarina Celada from CEiiA to make the first presentation. Thank you very much, Catarina.
So, thank you, Anabela. Let's start with a brief video.
Viver é morrer. O movimento
O movimento faz parte de nós desde a primeira hora.
Que instinto é este que leva a que todas as criaturas tentem movimentar-se em alguma direção desde que nascem? Por terra, água, ar. Nascemos com vontade de nos movermos, tal como todas as outras espécies. Mas quisemos ir mais rápido, mais alto, mais longe. Mas pelo caminho, esquecemos que era essencial mover-nos de forma sustentável. E agora, mais do que nunca, o nosso movimento tem de ser um só com o planeta, partilhando necessidades, unindo esforços, sabendo ir em conjunto na mesma direção. Temos finalmente de aprender com o planeta a agir com a harmonia do coletivo. Está na hora de agir e assumir a liderança, congregando como nunca os esforços de vários atores da nossa sociedade, a indústria automóvel, os operadores de energia, dados e comunicações e várias cidades. O movimento é natural. Pode também ser neutral.
So thank you very much. So I'm going to present our innovation agenda for sustainable mobility, which is called Be Neutral. This is one of the agendas supported by the Portuguese Resilience and Recovery Plan. The agenda's vision is in fact to accelerate the transition of cities to carbon neutrality, but through mobility products and services developed and industrialized in Portugal. As Anabella said, the final ambition is to position the north of Portugal as the first carbon neutral region in Europe. So the agenda's consortium comprises 40 organizations, companies, science and technology entities, and cities. And all the mobility chain is involved: the automotive industry, mobility operators, energy providers, and data and telecommunications companies. We are specifically working with 8 cities located in the north of Portugal, which are Porto, Matosinhos, Vila Nova de Gaia, Braga, Guimarães, Viana do Castelo, Vila Nova de Famalicão, and Oliveira das Meias. And these cities are in fact development, testing and experimentation spaces for the mobility products and services that will be developed within our agenda. However, to reduce carbon emissions in the mobility sector, technology is not enough. Introducing new transport modes in cities is not enough. We need new mobility service models for decarbonization. We need social innovation and new schemes to promote behavior change. We need new policies, regulation and governance models. We need also new climate finance schemes. So we are talking about social technical innovation, putting the citizen at the center of climate action. In fact, cities need accessible, reliable, and transparent data and information about CO2 emissions and also about CO2 emissions reductions to define mitigation actions, simulate scenarios, and evaluate progress in achieving climate goals. That's why within the agenda we are collecting data from different sources and generating climate intelligence for cities, decision makers, for mobility operators, and of course for citizens. Our main tool within the agenda and to achieve this objective is sustainability platform CEiiA. So this platform, this digital platform, quantifies in real time carbon emissions avoided by citizens using sustainable mobility modes. For example, a bicycle instead of a private car. And this quantification makes the contribution of citizens to the decarbonization of the city visible and tangible, promoting sustainable behaviors. So we think that individual decisions are important. Micro-scale actions are important because they are replicable and scalable to other cities and regions. Then our digital platform converts the value of avoided carbon emissions into digital credits or tokens that can be exchanged for goods and services in a city, for example, mobility services, but also municipal services or public benefits. So these tokens can circulate in a city as a local coin, as a local sustainability coin. However, following the principles of additionality and other core carbon principles, these tokens can also work as carbon credits in local or regional voluntary carbon markets. So we think this is one of the first platforms that assigns a value to sustainable behaviors. That's why it was awarded with the new European Bauhaus Prize by the European Commission in 2021, and it was one of the 10 successful applicants to the Google Org Impact Challenge on Climate. Within the agenda, of course, working with the mobility modes already existent in the cities, such as public transports or bike-sharing systems. However, we are also developing new mobility products to be used as services. Specifically, we are developing a light, small, electric and connected vehicle called BEN, designed to be used by communities, for example, a company, a university, or a school. And this vehicle is being developed and will be industrialized in Portugal with the collaboration of the Portuguese industry, of course. By connecting with the air platform, is it possible to quantify the emissions avoided by using this mobility service? And what is very interesting is that the carbon footprint of the vehicle, considering its life cycle, will be compensated by the emissions avoided during its use compared to carbon-intensive alternatives. So we are in fact talking about scope 4 emissions. But I can say that the first result of the agenda is the APM, All People Movers. It is a light electric vehicle designed to be used by people with physical disabilities. It will be presented and used in the Olympic and Paralympic Games in Paris 2024, enabling sustainable, accessible and inclusive mobility, and also contributing to the goal of reducing CO2 emissions compared to in our fabric Inovar. Finally, I would like to say that it is in fact an agenda by the new generations. As I said in the previous panel, we are involving young people in the design of our future mobility products and services. So we are working with technology and digital innovation, but also with arts and culture to incentivize the adoption of sustainable behaviors. Finally, of course, we want to replicate and scale up our solutions from the north of Portugal to cities all over the world, but mainly cities with ambitious climate targets. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Catarina. I didn't realize that I have sound, but you finished right in time. Madam Mayor of Matosinhos, it will be a pleasure to hear you. And by the way, let me say thank you for the presence of our colleagues and the two Secretary of State, Jorge Delgado and Ana Fontoura. Thank you very much for being here.
Obrigada. Preciso de uma ajuda? Well, good morning, everybody. I'd like to salute everyone, especially the members of Portuguese government, Mrs. Secretary of State, and also Mr. Secretary of State, also Catarina from CEiiA, Ricardo Rio, my colleague from Braga, everyone that stays here with us today. I'd like to share with you some information and the good practice of Matosinhos. I think that most of you already know Matosinhos is a city north of Portugal, the seventh biggest municipality in the country, with around 60 kilometers, square kilometers and 175,000 inhabitants. About our strategy of neutral carbon strategy, I would like to share some information first with local context. Matosinhos launched the Covenant of Mayors in 2008, and then we became membership at 2010. Then we approved our sustainable energy and environmental plan, and we became also member of the Global Covenant of Mayors for Climate Energy in 2015, and we approved the strategy of climate change and review it in 2018, and now we decide to become carbon neutral in 2030. As you might know, the national goals is to become carbon neutral at 2050, now 2045, but Matosinhos settled the goal to become carbon neutral at 2030. Regarding the local context, the main emissions domains in our municipality are the industrial and transport. These two sectors combined with consumption of non-electricity energy for thermal uses in buildings and facilities represents about 97% of local emissions. Continuing from an emission perspective and comparing with the baseline of 2009, Matosinhos reduced its emissions by around 53%. The biggest reduction was on process and use of industrial products, but we still have a long way to go, especially in stationary energy and transport. Because I have a short time, I'd like to go now to our good practices. And around this, we underwear in Matosinhos that we have mobilized the population in order to obtain contributions to climate action. Local actors are brought to discuss to the discussions of sustainable energy and climate action plan under different aspects, such as focus groups and workshops. We have a core group to carry out these workshops, composed of representatives from different municipal departments, such as energy, mobility, spatial and urban planning, and industry, state developers, construction companies, network operators and utility companies, and civil society, such as NGOs and citizen groups. We are now starting a civic lab for the climate transition, which will bring together more people to raise awareness and collect contributions. Of course, that we work also. This is the groups that the municipality is leading, but we work together with also stakeholders. And about stakeholders, I must talk about CEiiA, that is a strong partner. We have been working together for several years, starting with the air platform involving everybody, now with the schools and the young people. I think that is the key words to achieve these very ambitious goals that we are working on. But I also believe that in Matosinhos we have all the conditions, together with the national government, the local associations, and our scientific and engineering partner, to do it faster, to achieve all these goals faster. So one of our main good practice is the Lesser River Green Corridor. We started by joining 4 different municipalities. I think that is a unique practice because the river crossed 4 different municipalities and we joined together and trying to rebuild the river, trying to get people back to the river. This was very well known as the most polluted river in Europe, and we are changing it. Today, I'm very sad that I can't be there, but the national government will also be there to underline the work that we have been doing. And we made the redevelopment of the river banks of the Lesser River, it is known now as the Lesser Green Corridor. And in 2024, the project's work will continue, including the integrated rehabilitation of the Lesser River in the municipality of Matosinhos. It is a genuine green space with 6 kilometers already intervened. In addition to ecological restoration of natural and degraded habitats, the project supports also a green recreation structure and a mobility structure. Our goal is to get people back, and you might already see many people, especially at weekends, all family running and joining there. It's quite an impressive project that makes us very active. So in this context, Matosinhos is fully aligned with the spirit of cooperation, development, and sharing with the other municipalities of this corridor in order to joint efforts to raise awareness among the population, act on the Lesser River, adopt practices to improve this water course, and make use of nature because we want to go further in our biodiversity policy and also mobility policy using natural-based solutions. We have been involved in different projects addressing carbon neutrality and climate change. For example, the CEiiA project in the scope of positive energy districts funded by the Horizon 2020 program, framed with smart cities with the aim of developing positive energy districts. And as you already see, housing is a very important issue in our matter. So through this project, an energy plan for the municipality of Matosinhos will be developed, incorporating various applications of smart urban solutions, including a demonstration in a residential area of Matosinhos. We are part of a consortium of 30 entities, including 8 European cities that will implement PED solutions, in addition to Matosinhos, to involve cities as Amsterdam, Bilbao, Bratislava, Budapest, Copenhagen, Krakow, and Riga. We also have we created the Matosinhos Energy Hub, one-stop shop regarding efficient energy, so we can share information with our citizens, because we know that there are a lot of funds to support family options in order to get more energy efficient solutions, but most of the people don't know about it. So we build and we open these services, a public and municipal service, and we are having good results. There are a lot of proposals from private, from persons, from people, some associations. I believe that is also a good practices. So we can better understand in this slide our current state and how can we approach. We have to involve all these areas: the energy efficiency, the renewable energy, the sustainable mobility, stakeholders and citizens engagement, funding, and all, of course, with coordination at municipal level. That is our main role here. So just to close this presentation, I think that we are a good example of how can we go further in the national ambition, going even faster than the national level because we have some particular conditions, some great partners, and the community is also already involved with air application, with the role that we have been playing in the schools. Also the art and cultural approach are getting, allowing us to have more faster results. I believe that we can also inspire local, national government, and that will be our main proposal. I think that we have all the conditions and we are very committed to become carbon neutral in 2030, and the results that we have been achieving till now make us very hopeful about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was a real pleasure listening to you. I invite you, Ricardo Rio, Mayor of Braga, and thank you very much for accepting the invitation.
Well, I would like to start by thanking the invitation and by greeting the Secretaries of State, the members of the Parliament that are here, my dear colleague mayors, members of the panel, and to start my intervention by reinforcing what Luisa just said. And we have just been discussing this in the multilateral platform with the ministers today. It is really important to take care of the value that cities can bring to reach climate neutrality, to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. And what we have been asking through many networks and through mainly the good examples of our work is to have further competences, further resources, so that we can deliver even more than what we have been doing so far. And I think that just like Matosinhos, Braga also has a couple of good examples to share. Since I was elected in 2013, Braga has been a city very committed with the sustainable development, with the Sustainable Development Goals, and with sustainability as a whole. And we have been doing that, and actually throughout the result, because of the results of our work, achieving a couple of recognitions. We have been just considered one of the silver cities in the SDSCN network in terms of Sustainable Development Goals. We have been consistently in the top positions in the ABAI classification in Portugal, and according to the results themselves, because we monitor the fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals, we had, according to the last report, nearly 69% of the goals fully achieved by the city of Braga. We have this will to continuously monitor our performance according to each of the areas, because that's the way that we think it's needed to identify our weaknesses and to improve the work that we can do. And to do so, we have an established strategic model in which we try to mobilize all the local stakeholders. We engage in several international and national partnerships, and we have a continuous work in which we make a diagnosis, we identify the long-term policies that we have to develop, and we monitor the results of the initiatives that we implement. And to do so, one of the things that we always try to do is to be aligned with the local stakeholders. Either they are the institutions or the civil society, the citizens themselves, because we think that this type of goals and this type of work cannot be made in an abstract perspective. We have to show to people that we are working to improve their quality of life, that we are creating benefits for their daily routines, because some of the initiatives and the ones that I'm going to address today in the area of mobility are always invading the comfort zone of the citizens, are always challenging their routines, and obviously need some political and civic support so that they can be successful. Actually, we have a survey that shows that we are quite aligned with the concerns of our citizens. We have made this with inner municipal stakeholders and also with external stakeholders, and the main concerns are also quite aligned. And as we can see here, mobility is clearly on top of both the university's concerns, and that is also connected with the fact that in Braga if we made also, because we belong to the A list of the Carbon Disclosure Project, we make on a regular basis the inventory of our carbon emissions. And in Braga, 60% of the carbon emissions are connected with mobility issues. It's a huge percentage, and it's connected mostly with two factors. The first one is that we had a city that was designed to foster the use of private vehicles by the citizens. So according to the latest Eurobarometer, we had over 60% of our citizens using their own vehicles to make their mobility solutions in the city. And on top of that, we didn't have an attractive offer in terms of public transportation, nor the infrastructure for other soft modes in the city. For instance, when I was elected in 2013, as I mentioned, we had an average age of our bus fleets, which was around 17 years old. That's something that you wouldn't imagine to be possible in an European Union country, but actually it was the reality. We had a wide coverage of the whole territory with the public transportation network, but the figures were not so attractive in terms of the quality of the service, in terms of the quality of the vehicles that we had. And so we made throughout these latest years, and also because of the learning process that we had participating in several international networks, and I mentioned here the Covenant of Mayors, the URBAC project, CEiiA, in which we also have a very active role. And what we tried to do was to make a couple of initiatives that try to address different areas of intervention. The first one is in terms of infrastructure. We are redesigning our city so that we have more dedicated lines for bus to assure the reliability of its services, to increase the speed of work of the buses in the city. We have widened the pedestrian zones. We have created more bike lanes, and we want to improve even more in the upcoming years those distance in terms of bike lanes from the current 10 kilometers that we have to nearly 75 kilometers in the whole city. And we have invested a lot in the renewal of our bus fleet. Currently, we have already nearly 40% of our buses which are fully electric or gas comprised emissions, but the biggest majority is electric buses. So we are doing a huge renovation of our bus fleet, which is also a major source of improvement in terms of the air pollution in the city. And on top of that, we have been also working to make the service more accessible to people with the support of the national government, with programs like PART program and the ProTrans programs. We have been financing the decrease of the prices for the buses for a wide range of parts of our society. And from January on, we will have the buses completely free for all the students up until the university grade. So anybody studying from the lower levels to the university level can use the public transportation for free in the city of Braga from January on. And also we have created, because we think that there's a cultural revolution that we need to promote, because probably people from our generation don't even use the buses, even if they are free. And so we need to create a different cultural, different perspective from the citizens to the public transportation. And we have been developing a project which is called School Bus, which takes students from interfaces in which their parents can drop them with monitors. They are accompanied, and they take the buses to the schools so that we reduce the amount of cars that go to the center of the city and that cause more congestion of traffic. And also, together with this, we have a new project that is going to be developed from 24 on in terms of physical solution, which is the bus rapid transit, the Metro Bus, which will be an investment of nearly 150 million euros in the city. 100 million has already been assured in our National Recovery and Resilience Plan, which has been recently revised in Portugal. And so the project will start to be implemented in terms of construction, in terms of purchase of the vehicles right from 2024, and we hope to have it working fully until 2026. And as I mentioned, one important dimension is the mobilization of the civil society to the new more sustainable practices. And one good initiative that I would like to share here with you is a project that we have with the Business Council for Sustainable Development, BCSD, with nearly 50 institutions, the biggest companies and the major employers in the city, which became our allies in terms of prescribing to their workers, to their counterparts, sustainable mobility practices. Each of the institutions has a list, an inventory of commitments that they can identify, and either providing systems of car sharing or supporting the acquisition of bikes or buying tickets for the bus. Each of the institutions can obviously commit and help us to promote within their universe a more sustainable mobility. And that's why we are very optimistic in terms of the results that we would like to achieve. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you very much for all of you to have stayed to the time. So that's why I'm going to invite you all to come and join us here for the debate. And to join us, Luís Barroso, CEO of Mobié, electrical mobility, and our João Caetano, the president of the Institute of Mobility and Transport. So thank you very much. Catarina. Catarina wants to be the moderator, but it's okay, it's okay. Thank you. One first disclaimer. Our mayor of Matosinhos, Luísa Salgueiro, have to leave, and so if you don't mind, we'll have a first question, and then don't feel that why is she leaving, because she have another appointment. But thank you very much for the topic of being here today. So, Mayor, I'm always listening to you and feeling so, I don't know, sometimes humble about the things that you are doing in Matosinhos. But one of the things that you have always spoken about is about communities, is about how to emphasize the idea of having a new culture, a new way of being in the city. And that's why I'd like to ask you how you see the future of initiatives like the one that Katrina spoke about, you too, about that was from the young boys and girls that you have in schools. And when you speak about achieving the neutrality, the carbon neutrality in 2030, how do you think it's possible to create this culture that comes from the young generations to the elders and see how it's possible to do something different?
Thank you. That's true. I always underline the need to involve all the community. I think that is the real key in order to achieve all the goals that we settled. And we are now dealing with new times in urban planning policy. So we have to think about the city design in a new way, because, as Ricardo said, our cities were thought for private cars, and now we need to think the cities to have people, walking people. So we must change, first of all, the way that our architects, that our planners think about the city. But of course, that won't have results if we don't change the mindset of people. Because if I think that I must take my own car to go to the school or to work, that won't have any results. So that's why I think that we have to work and we build the living lab for carbon neutrality. I think it's the first social lab for carbon neutrality, because we are very aware of the need to involve everyone, starting by the young people, of course, but also the older people, the elder, as you said, and the companies. The examples that was exposed here, I think it's very important. The main emissions came from industry partners in Matosinhos, not from mobility, but from industry. We must involve all of them to show them what is our position now and the path that we want to go through, and that will be done now. But in the future, for next generation, we have to deliver all these documents, and we have to be sure that next generation will have another chance. So to share with them the information, to hear them about the way that they want to think the city where they are going to live. I believe that must have our effort. Of course that it is not easy for a mayor or for a director because it takes time. It is not easy. Many times we listen to them and we think that they are wrong, but they also think that we are wrong. Maybe they are right. So these discussion forums, the focus group that we are been preparing will change, I believe, the decisions. And this won't be a fast process. We know that even 2030 is very near. We must work hard. But next generations will have a different mindset about mobility. I believe, of course, we must offer them infrastructures. We must offer them solutions, not only the ideals, but also alternatives when they want to go to the school and they want to go to work. We are now changing a lot. Offering by free the pass for public transport will be quite a fast revolution. Not only to go to school, but every day pass 355 days a year. It will be an accelerator of the changing of the habits of our population, I believe. So I'm quite committed with this process, and the CEiiA working with the school is showing and proving it.
Totally. Thank you very much, Mayor. I think that you said something that, for me, it's very, very important. That is the good practice that can be like an imam that can begin to gather others. Because culture, we don't change culture in one day or 1 year, sometimes 10 years. But nevertheless, what is happening in Matosinhos, what is happening in Braga, what is happening in other cities around the country and the north of Portugal makes the difference. And you spoke another thing that is about how we put culture, new generations near the elders, and at the same time how technology can help that. And I think that, Catarina, you are for many years working on in those areas of sustainability and especially innovation when we speak about communities and how to put it in practice. I think that CEiiA is a pioneer when as we saw here, in the role of design and development of new products, but always with that idea of functioning, something that is for the people and made by the people, as a matter of fact. So it means that Be Neutral Agenda is implementing a huge range of initiatives. And I think that perhaps, all of them, you have 3, 4, or 5 that for you, it will be the most important ones, that to bring, someone said in the last panel, sometimes we have to give to the citizens things that Faustine was saying, that we give one part and then people understand that something is changing. Something is always changing. And this is what you are intending to do in CEiiA. Can you explain us 2, 3 initiatives that can be in this topic? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Annabella. Yes, of course we need a long-term strategy, but we also need quick wins to make our efforts visible among the population and among the citizens. So I think it's in fact the work that we have been done with schools is something that will change culture, mentality, and has a direct impact on citizens and on society, because children and students will inspire their parents, will inspire their families, will inspire all the community to reduce carbon emissions and to adopt sustainable mobility modes. And I think these initiatives can be replicable and scalable, and we are, to achieve these best practices sharing, we are building a panel of observers, an international panel of observers, and the first member of this panel is the United Nations Climate Change Global Innovation Hub. So we are going to organize a meeting in Portugal in the beginning of next year with the cities and with our partners to share good practices with also the United Nations and other international partners that will monitor and give us recommendations about the products and services of the agenda.
Thank you very much, Catarina. Mayor Ricardo Rio, I was listening to you too, and I can't fail to tell you that I was so proud when I saw 2 or 3 days ago, I suppose, that the city of Braga was honored by the United Nations Global Green City Award. I don't know if you all know what it is. This is something that is very rare to be given to cities in all over the world, and Braga is the eighth city in the world that have this award. So I think that this is something special for Portugal, and congratulations for that. But this means something that is not something that we begin today. It's something that you have, the assessment that you show us shows that we have something that comes from the past. And that continuity is something that perhaps is the most important. What I'd like to ask you is how it was possible to come here. As you said, in 2013, the things were not exactly how you have today. And do you feel that even the population, the municipalities, the citizens are more aware today of what should be their role in this new way of being in the climate change?
Well, first of all, it was obviously a huge joy for us and for me personally to have this recognition, which, as you mentioned, is, let's say, a consequence of a process, but it also is an intermediate step, as it was said by the organization when I received the award. This is not the end of the road. This is still a responsibility, and a huge responsibility that you have to carry from now on to keep the track and to keep improving. Because the main aim of this recognition is precisely not the result itself, but the process. And that's what we need to replicate in other contexts, in other territories, is, first of all, I think that it all starts with the political leadership. And the political leadership, it's not only the mayor, it's the global management of the city that has to be quite aligned with these goals and has the courage for one side and the ambition for other and the commitment to do the things that have to be done to develop these policies that we try to implement in the city. And then we can't obviously impose this vision to the society. We need to have a shared, that's why I always say that, and I was also the rapporteur for the Committee of the Regions for the Sustainable Development Goals. And one of the ideas that I always addressed was that we need to create a new governance model in which we co-responsibilize also the other stakeholders at the local level, so for each of the initiatives that we want to develop. You saw the BSD, CSD project. We have, for instance, a sustainable strategic council that was just created, in which we brought representatives from the civil society, even citizens, to participate in that advisory board. And we need to have them continuously engaged, giving legitimacy to a vision that is shared by everyone and that everybody wants to have implemented in the territory. And what we did was to create the process, the initial one that I showed, to have the diagnosis, to have the long-term vision and the actions that we wanted to address, and obviously to share responsibilities with all the stakeholders and monitor the results, because monitoring the results, as I mentioned, is crucial for showing that we are on the good path and that we are really improving the quality of life of people.
Thank you, Mayor. As a matter of fact, this is the way I was saying that if what we don't see, what you don't measure, we don't see. And so I think that in a way you are showing something that it's very difficult to do, that is to have an audit of what we are doing and change the path if necessary. So we spoke about communities, we spoke about technology, we spoke about assessment, but cities are too something that we need, electric area. Luís Barroso, you are the CEO of Mobier, and you have a huge responsibility in Portugal in what means the new way of being in the city. That is, if you want to achieve the carbon neutrality until 2050, something should be done exactly with the fuels and all that. So what do you think, Luis? How do you see the next years? And in your perspective, do you think that perhaps it will be necessary new business models, new ways of delivering these kind of services in a way that we can create I don't know, almost like a greater capillarity around the country to the use of the electric vehicles? What is your idea about that?
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. And I like to start to saying that in Portugal we have very good examples from decarbonization, and we saw it here in this panel with these three good examples that my colleagues of the panel show us. First, the big issue, and our Secretary of State is always remind us, and I want to remind, the best way is reducing the mobility needs. If we reduce the mobility needs, so we're going to have more effects in terms of decarbonization. There is many things to do it. For instance, new reorganization of the cities that reduce the commuting things. There is something odd that happens that I believe that people that live in the west part of the city works on the east part, the people, and vice versa, and people who lives on the south part works on the north part. So we need to make possible the people living near work or developing more remote schemes, remote labor schemes. Other issue that is very important here in Portugal, and we have a very good path of developing the things, it is the green producing of green energy. We have most of almost 65% of producing that give us independence in terms of energy that is very important for the future. In other way, we need to starting thinking different mobility. We always try to segment the users of mobility. We have the soft users mobility, we have the transport public users, and we have the cars users. We need to think in terms of more holistic that we have mobility users that sometimes use softwares, other times transport public, and of course the private cars are also a way of mobility. And we need to have many options as possible for the people who choose that the one will be more sustainable for his mobility. And of course with tariff schemes that penalize the ones that are not so sustainable. In terms of mobility, of course, electric mobility, it is an important driver in the decarbonization of mobility in the cities. Here we have, in Portugal, we have a very good and strong model because we started thinking about it very early. We have to have in mind that we have the first regulation in 2010. And Europe only have the first directive in 2014. So we have 4 years before. And now, in last September, the European Commission published a new regulation that is driving very important targets for European countries, and most of them the Portuguese model is very, very compliant with. For instance, European wants to have interoperability. we have a full interoperability model, and it is in practice right now. They wanted to have solutions like ad hoc payments. Our network has ad hoc payments in terms of QR code solution since April 2021. And we can going on it to see what we have. In terms of results, that is very important. Portugal is probably the unique country that has now full capillarity, as we were talking. We have at least one charging point in each of the 308 municipalities in the country. We have the only system that gives open data access in real time to the users of the availability of the network. And because we have also MobiE that integrate all the system, we could respond more quickly to the challenge. And after challenge, for instance, put us thinking about it last September, and in October, MobiE has published a study with long-term conclusions for until 2015 for the needs that Portugal need for the next years to be complying with AFIR challenge. For instance, we have to need to install 76,000 chargers until 2015. 1,600 is for heavy-duty vehicles. We're going to need 37 hydrogen stations for fuel cars, and all of it's going to cost us almost 1.7 billion euros. So we know what we need. We know how much does it cost. Now it's more easy to achieve the results. So I believe that we are in very good way, and we are a step forward to achieve this challenge because we starting before. Let me say one thing. MobiE in the next year, because we are talking about cities, is going to promote a new pilot that we're going to call Ruas Electric Streets. We're going to challenge the municipalities, and I challenge Braga and Matosinhos that are here in this panel, and the others, to try a new experience and test it, that is to install in streets that has no parking, private parking, 3 or 4 charging, low charging charges, for giving the people the necessary confidence to charge their car where they have no private parking to do it. It's going to be a very challenged project. It's going to be a pilot, but we want to test it. We want the municipalities see how they need to organize their processes, and for the CPOs also test their capacity to
that will be very interesting, and congratulations, because you are doing these sort of ideas to see what will be the future for that. You spoke about interoperability. I think that the question is all about that. It's not interoperability only from technological, but it's especially governance, the way how we can deal it. João Caetano, you as the president of the Institute of Mobility and Transport, I'm sure that you have this question every day. That means how it's possible to have this experience that are connecting the central administration, local government, and at the same time go a little more beyond what is regulations and even the institutional connections, and to see how we can cooperate in a way much more solidary, much more focused in what we could achieve when we speak about neutrality, the carbon neutrality. As a matter of fact, If we don't work together, I don't know what will be our future. What do you think about that, João?
Thank you very much for the question. We are facing challenges that need new governance structures, new institutional architectures, and new kind of knowledge within the institutions. I think that new regulatory frameworks have to be developed in this very close dialogue between the legal departments and the engineer departments of institutions. There's no way we're going to tackle this if we don't have this dialogue as an effective dialogue. Otherwise, we will develop regulatory frameworks that will work as a burden to innovation. That is something that I think it's clear, and I, as president of the IMT, for the past year, I've been trying to create this new culture within the Institute that we have to have this dialogue, and also to convince the secretaries of state to bring more human resources with other kind of capacities to the Institute, because we have to have that. Nonetheless, I think there's a lot of work that has to be done by the local authorities, and the municipality of Matosinhos and municipality of Braga are good examples, but we have been having a substantial transformation in the governance structure in the transport sector in Portugal for the past years, with the creation of the local and regional transport authorities that give to the local governments the power to decide and to manage their transport networks. So clearly, we are in a moment where we have to overcome all the cultural legacy of the different sectors. And now I'm thinking more in the business structure. We still have the energy sector, the transport sector, the IT sector, but the fact is that for this transition to be more effective, we have to have a new business structure where we have companies that act on the three different sectors at the same time, and that don't bring the legacy from the past. And I'm looking at this gentleman that for sure faces this challenge every single day. And this is something that CEiiA does very well, and I've worked in CEiiA for many years, where I learned all these new ways of organizing the different interests around a common goal. So I think we clearly need a new organizational structure if we want to accelerate transportation, decarbonization in Portugal and around the globe. And I think Portugal is a great test bed. It has very good examples of projects that were implemented that are effective, and we can be a good test bed for solutions across the globe, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that in the end, we have some, how can I say, I feel a good energy here, you know, that it's something that perhaps we have hope that in the future, we spoke here about measurement, we spoke here about engagement, we spoke here about innovation and about technology, but especially about culture. And this is the changing that we really need, and João is saying that. So for my part, I have to say we are finishing in time, and thank you to the speakers and for your wonderful presentations, and especially, I suppose, the good examples that bring us that the future is not so dark as probably it should be if you are not here. So thank you for that, and thank you for you to be there, and thank you for listening us, and hopefully together we will make, yes, we will change the world, totally. Thank you very much.
Viver é mover. O movimento faz parte de nós desde a primeira hora. Que instinto é este que leva a que todas as criaturas tentem movimentar-se em alguma direção desde que nascem? Por terra, água, ar. Nascemos com vontade de nos movermos, tal como todas as outras espécies. Mas quisemos ir mais rápido, mais alto, mais longe. Mas pelo caminho, esquecemos que era essencial mover-nos de forma sustentável. E agora, mais do que nunca, o nosso movimento tem de ser um só com o planeta, partilhando necessidades, unindo esforços, sabendo ir em conjunto na mesma direção. Temos finalmente de aprender com o planeta a agir com a harmonia do coletivo. Está na hora de agir e assumir a liderança, congregando como nunca os esforços de vários atores da nossa sociedade, a indústria automóvel, os operadores de energia, dados e comunicações e várias cidades. O movimento é natural, pode também ser neutral.